researchers found a security flaw with some of Subaru's online systems. So most modern cars nowadays have a way to do remote lock, unlock, engine start, track the location of the car. And that's oftentimes operated by the car makers and their, individual solutions. And basically what happens is the web portal that Subaru employees can use to manage this system, they found a security flaw in how Subaru employees are authenticated. And so they were able to basically masquerade as a Subaru employee. It was a pretty dramatic security flaw, honestly. It was, I think, quite easy for them to bypass it. And then they were able to just unlock anyone's car who's a Subaru owner who, had a recent enough car that they had these features. They could track the person's car across the world. Big problems. They could even look at the person's documentation as part of the sale of the vehicle. I think maybe even some quite sensitive information. Cybersecurity is a constant challenge, and there isn't a magic wand to avoiding cybersecurity issues. The firmware worked as expected, right? Once it got a authenticated request to unlock the car, it does it. That's how those features are built. So there's not a lot you can do from a firmware perspective to avoid that. It would be good to monitor the unlocks and locks of the vehicle and see how often it happens. And if you had a huge spikes in locks or unlocks, you might try to investigate what's going on to make sure there's no security issue. So monitoring can help in that way, right? If you monitor the behavior of the vehicles, you might catch a change in behavior that could be indicative of a hack. But really in this case, the main issues, the main recommendations that I would make is to invest more in the cloud side of cybersecurity. These private admin portals, first and foremost, should not be on the public internet. Unless there's a compelling business reason, you should need to be on a VPN to access them, right? Or use a zero trust system to make them accessible only to people who are proven to be employees of the company, using hardware that belongs to the company, authenticated via a third-party authentication system. That's number one. Number two is don't roll your own crypto. My understanding is that the two-factor authentication that the Subaru portal used was basically a homemade two-factor authentication system. There are amazing third-party providers who make very robust, battle-tested two-factor authentication. You really should use that rather than roll your own. There's a saying in cybersecurity that you shouldn't roll your own crypto. I think generally you shouldn't roll your own security-sensitive components, especially if an off-the-shelf version exists, because you inevitably will miss some edge cases and find yourself embarrassed.